Okay, amazing. Lisa, I'm going to jump straight in. Thank you for being here, firstly. So please share with us and listeners, present, future, past, what is it that your MEN1 journey has been for you so far? And what is it that, where is it you are right now with MEN1?
Okay, so thank you for having me on. It's great to be able to be here and like share the story and share the experience, and yeah, hopefully other people can hear this. So basically it was August 2021. My mum got diagnosed with, at the time, what we thought was a pancreatic tumor. It later transpired around about December 21 that it was a neuroendocrine tumor. And the specialists involved were sort of looking at that and looking at where that had come from. So then in March 22, she went for some genetic testing and they found it was MEN1, which obviously then means that her children needed testing. So that was really quite a difficult time for her. And for us, you know, I'd never heard of MEN1 in my life, didn't even know what it was. So, you know, it's really hard, isn't it? So she went for testing and then it came back positive. Then we were tested. So I got tested in I think it's probably like early August last year, so August 22, and then my result came back in September last year that I was carrying the gene, and the implications of that one for me were that then my children needed testing, and I think that's probably the most difficult part, was that I didn't know what it meant. Like, it felt really scary. MEN1, they talk about tumors, they talk about growth, and you know, I didn't feel like there was anything out there that really told me what this meant. And I think when they use the word cancer gene, I think the word cancer in itself is really quite frightening. So I tried to do a little bit of research myself. I looked online at journals and things, and I got my children tested. And I have 3 children, and 2 of them have the gene. So that then meant that now there's 3 of us out of 5 of us in the house that are carrying MEN1. And then I think from there, really, I've had some different tests and bits and pieces. I've always just suffered with my stomach. Like, it's always been like an ongoing issue. And I've always been told it's IBS. I think MEN1 has meant that I can question that a little bit, although I still don't feel like I'm being listened to wholly, if I'm perfectly honest, because they're still saying that, you know, it's just IBS, when actually it could not be. I live in North Wales, so it can be quite challenging. I think, again, there's not much research in the area about it. I'm actually working with a team in Liverpool now. I'm under them. I've also had some issues around like menopause symptoms, which I'm not 40 yet, so that's quite early. But again, it's not unusual. And I think without MEN1, they would have just said it was just, you know, I'm like 1% of the population before the age of 40. But actually, because of MEN1, they're able to look at it a little bit more. And I was able to push for some screening, pituitary screening. So that was really positive. But I think for me, like, it's very much like MEN1 isn't going to take over my life. Like, I'm going to forearm myself with as much information as I can. And it's not just about me, it's about my children. Like, I want them to grow up and know how to keep themselves well and how to keep themselves healthy. And I think with the research that's out there, you know, you find the right research and the right people. I think we can then make sure we've got the right information, and we're always learning, like, we're always evolving. There's so much out there at the minute about like gut health and the gut brain axis and how that impacts the gut microbiome and stuff like that. And I really want to learn more, because I want to be able to keep myself as healthy as well as possible for me and my children.
Inspiring. I think also because you've come into this so recently. And a lot of people that I've met through MEN1, I've known for quite a long time. So, you know, upwards of like 5 or 10 years. And I think I feel like you're like a force of nature coming in at this condition, because it's like, you know, you've experienced obviously some of that uncertainty and the fear and everything, but your underlying attitude is, I've got this, like, I'm going to do what I can, which I think is absolutely remarkable. Mentioning about, you know, the cancer gene and the fear that can kind of bring up in you, these words I think that are often thrown, and our association with them is really negative, because you hear cancer and you think, well, you know, that cancer can often be terminal. And what is that doing in a condition like MEN1, where actually, you know, it's very well monitored and stuff. but it is unpredictable and it is unknown. And I wondered, like, how is it that you're coping with that, and what is it that you're using to make sure that it doesn't take over?
Yeah, so like, I can't lie. When I first got told about this, straight away you talk about cancer. The fact that my mum had a cancerous tumor on her pancreas, it is really frightening. But for me, firstly, I asked the medical professionals like not to use that term to my children. I don't want them to hear the word cancer. It's got really negative connotations, and we tend to rarely hear about positive cancer stories. We always tend to hear about the negative stuff. Um, but ultimately, like I just feel like it's in my head, like I'm just going to treat this positively. Yes, of course, I could get tumors that become cancerous, but you know what? So can anybody. I will at least know about them because I will have screening. The minute I get any sort of symptom, I will be able to go to my GP. And I think for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this, I felt medically gaslighted about some of my issues, the sort of stomach stuff. And now that hopefully won't happen as much because I can say MEN1 and what that might bring, and they might be more inclined to look into it. I think because I live where I live and there's limited knowledge potentially in this area, again, it feels a little bit daunting because I have little trust then in what people are saying if they know enough about it. But then that's where I feel empowered to learn myself. So like it's almost empowered me because I don't necessarily trust the people around me, and not all of medical professionals. Of course, I trust medicine, but unfortunately, there's been experiences in my life where I haven't been listened to. So therefore, I'm empowered to go off and learn myself and look at medical research and look at people's experience. And I think that's where, like, when I first got diagnosed, I was looking on Instagram and trying to find people who had MEN1 to try and look at the positive side of it. Because again, like there's so much out there that's negative, and I don't want to be around any negativity around it. I'm not under any illusion that there's going to be aspects of this that might not be so nice. But I think it's just about trying to remain positive. And for my children, I want them to know that like they can take control of their health, and we can look if we can do everything we possibly can. And then, we get a tumor, at least we know that we've done everything we possibly could. And, we've maybe slowed things down, or we'll get screened quicker, and then that will be dealt with. So I don't think of it. I don't think like it's not in part of my daily work. Like I don't think about it until I have to think about it. And I suppose it's only when I'm unwell and I think, oh, could that be related to the gene, that I then might go and seek professional advice. But yeah, I don't think about it. Anybody, 1 in 2 people will get cancer. Anyone can get cancer. We know we're at a higher risk. Like MEN patients know they're at a higher risk. So that's where we need, the NHS and the screening that we'll get will be absolutely vital.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more. And you mentioned about going out there and doing a lot of your own research, and you were like, I'm not going to sit here and just be spoon fed. I want to go out and find stuff. And funnily enough, so one of the places that you ended up on was Instagram, and that's how you and I connected. And that's interesting because, I mean, put it this way, when I was diagnosed, Instagram wasn't a thing. So, and I would have been too young probably to know about it anyway. So that wasn't really the first place I would have gone. But now it seems like social media is literally one of the first places that people go, because it's about finding other people. It's about that connection. It's about community. How did it go when you were out there on social media looking? What did you find? What did you not find? Like, give people an idea of whether that was a good thing to do.
Yeah, so I mean, we all Google things, and I think the first place was Google, and I was reading, and it was just like, oh my gosh, it's also negative. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go onto Instagram and I'm going to hashtag MEN1 and hashtag health and hashtag wellness. And I came across a few different people. And again, like, this is not going out there and like just reading the things you want to read. Like, there's no confirmation bias here. Like, oh, they're saying what I'm thinking, so I'm going to like them. I was really looking for people who were trying to follow this health and well-being narrative, but who could relate to MEN1. And again, there's very little out there. So, I mean, the first place I went was actually the MEN website, and I got some information from MEN, and they sent out some booklets and some comics for the children, which was lovely. But then that again is very medical based stuff, and so I want real experience. I want people to really talk to me. So then I reached out to you on Instagram. So I found a couple of people, and then I was reading your story and I thought, like straight away I thought 7 years surgery free, like she's doing something, there's something here that this woman is doing that is obviously working, and I need to know more about this. So that was what made me reach out, and since then I just feel like I'm in that space where I'm reaching out and people are connecting with me who, even if it's not MEN1, they've got other health stuff going on, but they're taking control of it. And it actually feels really lovely to have a community of people who are on the same page. I think there's always been this thing, hasn't there, that if you think that, like, I don't know, herbal medicine works or etc., that there's like this hippie side of things. Actually, it's so good, like yoga and meditation. And the more I read about it, the more I'm in that space, the more positive it feels. And yeah, I just love, like, I've connected with so many people even this week. I took my team on like a meditation session last week, all these things, and they're like, Lise, like, what's going on? What is this? But because the more I read about the brain and the hormone, the chemicals that are released when certain aspects of our lives, are maybe more stressful, and how that then impacts our body, the more I don't want those things in my life. So yeah, Instagram actually has probably been incredible for me, because you can just search for some hashtags and find some people hashtagging those things, and then you can go through that and have a look at which things you think, do you know what, this is what I'm looking for. And then that's inspired me then to start my own page. I've got a page on Instagram, but it's private, which I share pictures of my children and my life. But I've got like a public page now, which I'm using for like the health and well-being journey. And what's really lovely about that is there's some people following it who are complete strangers, who are like getting me to come on, like, this is amazing. And I joined the gym, and everybody's like, oh, this is great. And actually that feels really lovely to have other people out there, shouting for you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm so glad that actually you've found that this early on, because it could be a very long time until someone actually finds what it is they need. But when you find it, and you're like, okay, this is where I need to be. And that you've, already made a really empowering decision, because you want to jump in and,
We're really lucky, aren't we, though, like that we have got social media. Like you said, when you got diagnosed, there was no social media, but we're actually quite lucky. And while social media has some negative things, there's so much positive out there. If you just look for it, we are empowered to find our own information and find people who share the same values as us. And so your community gets bigger, doesn't it? Which, yeah, social media has been great for that, in that as well.
Hugely, absolutely. Sharing what is possible, and focusing on that rather than what isn't possible, which I think is so much the dialogue around health focuses on, this is what you can't change and this is what you can't fix, and all of that.
Yeah, and just illness, just that, like, once you're ill, like, you're ill. And I'm using the term, like, have you got MEN1 or has it got you? And I think for me, like, I feel like I've got it, like, I've got this, and I've got it for my children, and I'm going to empower them to learn about health and well-being and the things in, it's a balance. We all need a little bit of bad stuff, but actually we need to look at our lives and look at the things that we let influence our body and our mind, to try and prevent illness as much as we can. And I think the narrative's not out there. There isn't as much out there about how we can empower ourselves to become healthier. It's all about, the narrative tends to be about, like, what medicine you can have, and and all that. And I just feel like there's more to it. We can do things ourselves as humans.
Definitely. And I love that you use that word empowerment, because that's one that I come back to the whole time. And definitely, like, when we've talked and stuff, I've thought that's very much you. That's the kind of energy that you give off. And so much so that, like, literally as soon as I announced that there was going to be a founding membership, you jumped in and you were like, I'm here, I'm in, like, this is what I need. And I wondered, if there's anyone who's watching this back and it's, they're not really sure what it is they need, or if they know what it is they need and they're not sure how to get it, like, what is it that kind of appealed to you about being within a community of people that understood it and that really got it and were on a similar path?
It's shared learning. I think people who are on their own journey themselves and who can empower each other we can influence each other and empower each other. And for me, being part of that community is so important, because I want to be part of a community of positive people who are doing positive things, and like looking at their lives and saying, do you know what, and this is what I'm doing, this is working for me. And education is power, and like educating each other. So we can all do things in silo, but actually having a community of people around you who are on a shared journey. MEN1 is not that common. In fact, I think it probably is more common than we think, but people just don't know about it as much. And so it's really important that those who have MEN1, especially those who are maybe newer to a diagnosis, have other people around them who can influence that and who can support them. I think it's the support, isn't it? Like having people to support you and knowing that you can reach out. And I think like when I reached out to you and I spoke to you straight away, I got that similar energy of like empowerment and like very much going to take charge of this. And it's really like, okay, what are you doing? Like what? And then I can go off and read a little bit about what you say so that I can then educate myself, which has a knock-on effect on my family and my wider family, because one of my sisters also has it. So, my nieces. So this is a big deal for our family. And even if nobody else is a family member except for me, at least I can share my learning with them.
Absolutely. And if you were looking at anyone else with MEN1 right now, maybe it's your maybe it's someone maybe it's one of your kids, or maybe it's actually a past version of yourself. Being where you are now, what's the one thing that you would say to that person that you think is going to make the biggest difference for them?
Ooh. I think believe in yourself. You've got the power to change. You've got it. Like we've got it. You've got that power to change things. Arm yourself with as much information as you possibly can. Go out there and research. Don't think that you have to rely on other people or medical professionals to tell you. You've got that. So go away and do your own finding, do your own fact finding. Connect with people. Know what it is that you need for you, because what's right for me is not right for you or you. But actually, there might be some aspects of stuff that I've done that I could have done earlier. That then maybe you can adopt that. So I think just believe in the power that you've got as an individual to change the trajectory maybe of your own health.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. And it's so amazing that you've come to that realization this soon on in your trajectory with this condition, because it's gonna, it's just gonna revolutionize things. Honestly,
I think really interestingly, there's definitely been a shift in my mindset in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And there's been things that's happened in the last 5 years that have definitely contributed to that. So it's quite interesting that this has happened at the point in my life that it has, because I wonder if 5 years ago, if I'd had this diagnosis, if I'd have been in a very different mindset. But now I'm very much in that mindset of, it's up to me. It's up to me. Only I can change these things. Nobody else can do this for me. Nobody else can do it for my children. They haven't got the information access to information that I have. I can empower them to find that. And I feel the same for myself.
It's an empowering thought to leave actually with other people. So Lisa, I could talk to you and ask you questions all day and be in conversation, because I've just, found someone who, I think there's just so much, as you said, knowledge to be shared, things to be learned, a community to be made, and all of that. And I'm really excited, that you're literally going to be at the center of it. So thank you for giving your time, coming on, and hopefully you've inspired people to, if not think differently, to actually continue that line of thought that they have at the moment, which is one about, what can I do? What's within my remit? So thank you.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. Thank you.